You also know from the micronutrients lecture that many people end up with minor deficiencies in one nutrient or another. But you may be wondering, what about all of the other supplements you hear about? It's no secret that many people are looking to gain an extra edge for fat loss, body transformation, energy levels, and performance. These supplements, or ergogenic aids as they're often categorized as, are termed sport and performance nutrition, or sports supplements, because many athletes are looking for an edge too. But so are other people. These supplements come in many shapes and sizes, from pills to powders to gels, and the general public eats them up. It's quite surprising to see how much money is spent on supplements each year. A study by Persistence Market Research released a report recently that stated that the global sports nutrition market, which includes sports foods and drinks and supplements, was valued at $20.7 billion. Yes, billion. And it's projected to reach a whopping $37.7 billion by the year 2019. With the overwhelming amount of advice and testimonials about consuming supplements, it's difficult to determine which of these products work, which are a waste of your money, and which products could be harmful. It seems that almost weekly there's a story in the news about a contaminated supplement that creates the image that supplements are completely unregulated. Well, this is not true, and like many news stories, often one bad scenario paints the entire industry with the same brush. Admittedly, it can be quite confusing, and even the most experienced consumer has doubts. It's confusing even for people like me who studies these supplements on a regular basis to know just what to choose. How do you know that the doctor pushing this new miracle product isn't being paid by the company to promote it? The field of performance nutrition is extremely dynamic. There's new research coming out almost daily that can change the general consensus on any single topic. While there are many performance supplements that show no real benefit, other supplements could actually be quite useful for health, body composition, and performance. In fact, some performance supplements have shown safety and efficacy for a long time and have now made their way into the clinical world to alleviate and prevent diseases. I'll discuss it all with you in this lecture. A lot of money is being pumped into this niche market, and the purpose of this lecture is to distinguish the performance supplements that actually work based on reliable and consistent research versus those that only lighten your wallet. Let's begin by discussing what dietary supplements are and how to read their labels, known as the Supplement Facts Panel. Well, a dietary supplement has a very long definition. Technically, they are defined as a product that's intended to supplement the diet and contains one or more of the following ingredients: a vitamin, mineral, herb, or other botanical, an amino acid that is a concentrate, metabolite, constituent, extract, or a combination of any of these. Notice how these products are not intended to replace food that is already in your diet. You know how to read a conventional food label with the Nutrition Facts Panel, but there are some differences between this label and the Supplement Facts Panel that we should highlight before we dive into the specifics. You'll often see a section with a proprietary blend listed. This means that rather than giving specific amounts of specific ingredients, they are bunched together under proprietary blend, and only one single amount of all the ingredients in the blend is listed. This is a list of ingredients that are part of a product formula specific to a particular manufacturer. It's their secret ingredient. Now, the Food and Drug Administration does not require the amount of the ingredients in the proprietary blend formula to be listed, which is where consumers tend to run into trouble with supplements. It's very important to check the labels on any supplements to make sure you know what you're taking. If you see proprietary blend, you just don't know how much of each ingredient is in your product. You don't have to avoid these products that have a proprietary blend. Just be sure to work with a sports nutritionist and your physician to see what will work best for you. If you do see the dose listed, which many quality companies include on their labels already, it's best to be sure that it matches what the research evidence shows actually works for humans. I'll discuss specific examples in just a few minutes. But now that we've covered how to interpret the supplement facts panel, let's talk about supplements for fat loss, muscle gain, and even those that are used for disease prevention. Keep in mind that the choice to take any of these should be thought out and be extremely careful in terms of balancing them with the other healthy lifestyle choices you make. As always, it's a good idea to check with your health professional before adding a supplement to your diet. Let's start with fat loss supplements. It seems like nowadays everyone wants to burn fat the easy way. Every time I open up a fitness magazine, there's an advertisement for a new metabolic booster or some products that are even making their way back to the shelves after being banned in the past for having things like ephedrine, a chemical linked to one death and a slew of serious health problems. The question is, do any fat-burning supplements actually work, and are they safe? And the answer is actually yes. Some do work and some are safe. Most of these supplements target fat loss in one of three ways. By increasing the fat you burn for energy, by blocking fat storage in your body, or by controlling your calorie intake by suppressing hunger. However, of all of the marketed products, only a few have good research-based evidence. The most common supplement in the fat-burning category is probably something you've already had today. It's caffeine. In fact, caffeine is the most popular consumed drug in the world and is also found in many products like coffee, tea, soda, and even chocolate. Caffeine is thought to be a weight loss supplement because it increases resting energy expenditure by 7 to 15% in some studies. The active compound in caffeine is called methylxanthine, and it acts on the heart muscle and skeletal muscle and central nervous system as a stimulant. This is why you may get the jitters when you've had that extra cup of joe in the morning. Now, some people need to be careful because the extra stimulation from caffeine can be too much. But this only needs to really be taken as a precaution if you have a pre-existing heart condition or are just extremely sensitive to caffeine. Again, always check with your doctor regarding your own individual health status. So, what is the right balance? Most of the studies show that in order to have a noticeable metabolic increase, that roughly 3 to 6 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body mass must be consumed at one time. So for example, if you are a 155-pound or 70-kilogram person, you would take in 210 to 420 milligrams of caffeine. This equates to about 1 to 2 normal-sized servings, like 16 to 20 ounces, of coffee, depending on the strength of the brew. However, if you don't like drinking that much liquid, there are caffeine tablets available on the market that are pretty cheap and contain about 200 milligrams per pill. Just keep in mind that an excess of pretty much anything you put into your body will likely cause problems and could even be deadly. You can probably see how this might lead to cost and/or efficiency issues with caffeine. I would recommend for fat loss to start with many of the other nutrition and exercise factors I'm discussing with you in this course. Then, if you truly want to try caffeine for fat loss purposes, it could be useful if done properly. So, when should you take caffeine? Well, it's best to take 30 to 45 minutes before exercising and/or first thing in the morning before breakfast. For best results, caffeine should be taken on an empty stomach because consuming it with food, especially carbohydrates, diminishes its effects by lowering plasma caffeine concentrations, as well as delaying the time to the peak caffeine concentration in your blood. So yes, drinking your coffee with little or no additives like cream, sugar, or milk will be most helpful, not to mention lowering your overall calorie intake. So how does caffeine promote fat loss? Well, out of a number of potential mechanisms for how caffeine works to promote fat loss, there are two that are thought to work most readily in humans. The first is the inhibition of an enzyme known as phosphodiesterase, or PDE. Now, in a normal scenario, PDE essentially puts the brakes on fat loss. Caffeine is thought to stop PDE, or stop the brakes, which allows fatty acids to be released from fat tissue. Then more energy can be burned from fat for weight loss. The second mechanism involves the inhibition of a molecule called adenosine. Normally, adenosine will slow or stop the neurotransmitter called norepinephrine. Norepinephrine assists in releasing fat from fat cells and increases energy expenditure to promote weight loss. So by taking caffeine, you inhibit adenosine's actions, and norepinephrine can do its work on fat loss. Now, just because caffeine may increase your ability to get fat out of your fat cells and into your blood, a process called lipolysis, does not mean that you can lose fat and not have to exercise. In order to burn or use the fat that is now in your blood, you have to exercise too. Otherwise, you have a good chance of just circulating that fat around your body and then restoring it or re-esterifying it as fat. The downside to caffeine is that the effect of caffeine on weight loss is not the same for everyone. It seems that it works best for younger people and for those who are more physically fit. Seems unfair, right? Also, if you consume lots of caffeine, it is thought that you become less sensitive to its effects on fat loss and performance. Yes, caffeine has been shown to improve exercise performance. However, habitual intake does not affect caffeine concentrations in the blood, and people with more fat mass tend to have higher plasma caffeine concentrations than lean individuals. This just means that caffeine stays at an elevated concentration, but it's possible that this could lead to some desensitization, where it just takes more and more caffeine to have the same response. A common concept that people have with caffeine is that it will cause dehydration. However, numerous studies have shown that this is a myth and that there is no evidence to support it. Well, why then does it make me urinate more is the common question I get. The answer is probably because you are drinking quite a bit more liquid to get your caffeine intake. More liquid equals more urination. Another supplement with potential fat loss effects is green tea. This drink has become increasingly popular in American culture over the past decade, with all sorts of products